This is Amos chapter 7 and verse 14. Then answered Amos and said to Amaziah, I was no prophet, neither was I a prophet's son, but I was an herdman, a gatherer of the sycamore fruit. And the Lord took me as I followed the flock, and the Lord said unto me, Go, prophesy unto my people Israel. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to our elect. So it's going to be straightforward and quick to the point with this lesson, but just wanted to eat off of what happened this past weekend at camp. We had an individual, an older gentleman, come to us and ask us certain questions, and he was able to see how that we were, he was able to, for lack of better words, vibe with us and see that, hey, we were teaching the truth and that we have an understanding of the scriptures. And I just wanted to get into a lesson how people judge things, the saying goes, don't judge a book by its cover. But when it comes to us, so-called black Hebrew Israelites, they will judge us by a cover. People will think that we're just out there, we're just men that yell. I've heard that saying before. We just yell out there on the street to people. We don't know what we're talking about. We're crazy. We're wasting our time. We look weird and funny with what people will call a dress, but it's a garment. So we're not regarded by the world, nor are we seeking to be regarded by the world. But to the world actually does judge us by our appearance, right? Especially if you see my face, how I have a very serious demeanor. Oh, some people are like, these can't be men of God. How could they? Look at how they look. Look at this one guy, individual, using myself as an example. He looks like he's about to kill somebody. Just the other day, just being honest, homeboy at the job told me, some chick said I look like a murderer, like I'm about to kill somebody. And it's not the first time I've heard that. I've heard that throughout my entire life, even in high school. But again, they judge it by, they judge us by appearance because of how we look, and we don't look the part. But when you read the scriptures, the men of the Lord, the prophets, were never individuals that so quote unquote looked the part. They were average individuals like Amos. He said he was a gatherer of the sycamore fruit. He was an herdman. But then the Lord put the Spirit upon him to go and prophesy unto Israel. Just like that. See, people expect to see a certain thing, a certain glamour about the prophets, like how they would see the false prophets, the people who they perceive to be men of God or men who speak for God, using the example of, you got your Joel Osteen, Philip Anthony Mitchell, so on and so forth. They look the part, they have a following, they have a lot of people listening to him, so obviously this must be a man of God. This must be a man of the Lord. Everything is flowing to him. He looks the part according to wearing a suit and tie and things like that. He looks clean. He's approachable. Everybody likes him. So this must be a man of God. But when you read the scriptures, no, the men of the Lord were never liked. Right? If you were a true servant of the Heavenly Father, you were never liked. So people have that misunderstanding of the scriptures, thinking that men of God are supposed to be loved by all, and they're not. They were actually despised by a lot of people, but liked by very few. Those that walk the same path, especially during, or should I say after, Yahushai had went back up to the heavens. The prophets and the apostles were never men that were accepted by majority of the people. You have examples, again, like King David. To the point, King David was a shepherd boy. He was a guy that was with the sheep, with the flocks. But yet what happened? The Lord raised him up and made him into a great king, one of the greatest kings of Israel. He wasn't an individual that had the look. How did Goliath describe him? Right? You bring this, am I a dog that you bring unto me this young man out here? Goliath looked down upon because he didn't look like anything. David didn't look like a challenge to Goliath. Maybe if King Saul had approached, Goliath would have had a little bit of a different words, because like, oh, okay, Saul looked the part. Because yeah, actually, yes, that's the Wadi Al-Bashar. Saul actually, had a high stature and things like that. So you could say Saul looked the part. Like, okay, yeah, this is definitely looks like a king. He got the stature, he got the build, he got everything. It's the same thing like what they say today with like certain I'll just use football for an example. Most players coming out of college, and when they transition to the NFL, they'll have a lot of hype around certain high draft prospects. This guy looks like the part, he has the arm talent, he has this, he has that. I expect this guy to come in here and, light things up in the NFL and do good. But more often than not, it's really, yes, do you have some players that, yeah, they make that transition over from college to NFL, so where the talent just, goes over, but they just get better in the NFL or in the pros? Yes, absolutely. But more often than not, if you look at a lot of players, it's never like that. One example is Tom Brady. Now, I forgot what round he was drafted in, but I think he was like the 199th pick of that round. And there's always that infamous shot of him where I think he's like in his boxers and he's just naked, just in his boxers and things like that. And they ask him to turn around and things like that. If you look at Tom Brady, it's like, this guy does not look like an NFL quarterback. This guy looks like an average Joe. How did this guy play college? He played college for Michigan. But what people didn't look at was what? Tom Brady's work ethic, his mind, is what brought out that greatness. His hard work, his dedication to the craft, to perfect it, to get better. You see, if you look at that image of Tom Brady and then you see him 20, 25 years later, that same skinny guy was later, you can probably say, one of the best NFL players, if not one of the greatest sports athletes. 7 Super Bowl rings, 6 with the Patriots, 1 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is a hell of a career. 20 plus years, if I'm not mistaken, in the league. That's a hell of a career. If I'm not mistaken, out of all his, I think he's been to the Super Bowl. He's been to the Super Bowl 10 times, and he's only lost 3 times. Think about that number. You've been to the Super Bowl 10 times, and out of 10 times being in the Super Bowl, you've won 7 out of 10 of them. The 3 that he lost was 2 to Eli Manning and the Giants, and 1 to the Philadelphia Eagles. So if you really think about it, if Tom Brady had won all 10 of those Super Bowls, he would have a ring for each of his fingers. That's a great career. Nobody would ever expect a guy like Tom Brady, if you look at that picture, he would amount to this. But again, you're looking at that picture of that scrawny young man and seeing there's no way this guy's going to be that. But long and behold, because of his hard work, his dedication, his work ethic, that's what led him to being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. If not, you can argue one of the best NFL quarterbacks. I have a saying that, when people look at talent, they think that talent is supposed to look and be a certain size and things like that. No. Talent, it doesn't have a look to it. And even if a person does have the talent, does have the look and things like that, as the saying goes, hard work will always beat talent when talent doesn't work hard at all. Because it's, as they say, a God-given talent. You just naturally have it. It just comes natural to you. But the person who works hard and things like that, that's different. Because another example of, you have like Goku and Vegeta. If you watch Dragon Ball, Vegeta was known as a prodigy, right? Meaning that he just inherently had, or just was innately stronger than most people. He was bred, or just from birth, better than most Saiyans. But then you have Goku, who was a low class, but yet Goku working himself up. If you watch Dragon Ball, then Dragon Ball Z, you see the growth of Goku, and then what he's able to compete with Vegeta. How is it a high class, a prince of all Saiyans, is having a low class warrior compete with him? That doesn't make any sense. But because what? Goku was a hard worker. Goku wasn't a slack. And the person who was looked at as a low class actually came to, in that world, fulfill the prophecy. He became to become the first Super Saiyan in years. But if you look at Goku, it's like this low-class warrior Saiyan. He becomes the legendary Super Saiyan. He beats Frieza. He does all these great things. How the hell does a low-class warrior become this great fighting warrior? Because of hard work, dedication, the mind itself, the drive, the will to push. But a lot of people look at the outward and see, oh yeah, this guy must be it. And then you look at a lot of these NFL players, these high drafted players, and they don't amount to much. Justin Fields, for an example, that was with the Chicago Bears. Look at how his career is going. But when he first came out, it was looked as though, yo, this is the guy, he's going to light things up. He ain't lighting up nothing in the NFL. For right now, at least Cam Ward was another guy. Oh, Cam Ward's going to kill. Cam Ward with the Tennessee Titans ain't doing nothing so far. So, just like with us, people look at us, especially with those who are closest to you, whether they be family members or friends. I grew up with you. I know who you are. I've seen you. I've done the folly of our younger years with you, man. You out here trying to preach to me and preach me the Bible. Who the hell is you? But you don't understand that there is a drive behind us. There is a spirit that is making us like this, just like here with Amos. He's telling Amaziah that, look, I was just a herdman. I was just a regular individual. But the Lord made me go and preach unto y'all. And it's the same thing with us. We're just regular men. We're just regular individuals. But there is a force behind us that is pushing us, driving us to get into the scriptures, to come out there week in and week out, to do our videos week in and week out, to do this year in and year out. There is a force behind that. But you people don't see it because you just look at the man, the individual, and say, oh, well, this guy can't be it. I mean, he doesn't look like it. But the guy who's lying to you consistently, taking your money and things like that, we have some of these pastors talking about, tithing more and things like that. I forgot what, I'm trying to remember it, how it went. Yeah, but he said something along the lines of, you got to give a bigger offering or something like that. That's what these guys, they're showing you exactly what they're about. They just want the money. You're making them rich to lie to you, to tell you a fairy tale story, just a feel-good story, just some motivation. They're motivational speakers, and then that's it. But if people took actually the time, and the gentleman that was there, he even made the comment how he can see people just walking past us, but yet people don't realize what we're saying. If people to actually stand there and listen to us, they would realize that, hey, these young men actually know what they're talking about, and they're really trying to find the right word, but they're very aware of what's going on in the world. And we could actually put you on game about a lot of things, whether you are our people or not. But of course, because nobody wants to be seen there standing amongst us, because we have to the world a certain reputation, they will look down upon us and look past us. Yeah, they may smile when they say good mornings, but really, no. Want nothing to do with us, because they've already judged, in their mind, they've already judged us. You guys are just whatever, you guys do your thing out there, your little thing, not knowing that this little thing that you look at, as Yahushua said, what the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a mustard seed, which is the smallest of all the herbs, but yet, when it grows, is the biggest of all the trees. This little thing where you looking at these men as insignificant, oh, you guys ain't really much, are going to be the future rulers. These very same individuals, some of them are your fathers, your sons, your uncles, so on and so forth. But these very men in the kingdom to come are going to be the leaders behind who you ignorantly call Jesus Christ, which his name is Yahushua, are going to be the future rulers of the world, leading the world in righteousness. Who would have thought an individual like David, who was just a shepherd boy, would come to be one of the greatest kings in Israel, right? Just like I gave the example with Tom Brady. Who would have thought that scrawny guy would later be in 10 Super Bowls and win 7 out of 10 of them? and be considered at least one of the greatest QBs in the NFL. But because you judged the book by its cover, because it didn't look the part, you didn't see the mind, you didn't see what was driving this individual to greatness. The same thing with the Lord's elect. You don't see the force, the spirit that is driving these men, because you're carnally minded. Matthew chapter 11 and verse 8. But what went ye out for to see? A man clothed in soft raiment? Behold, they that wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. See? So that's what people want to see. They want to see that soft raiment. That he has to look the part of a man of God. But when you read the scriptures, these were regular individuals that the Lord put the Spirit on to prophesy in his name, to follow after him. Was not the disciples, some of them fishermen? He said, what? Come unto me and I will make you fishers of men. These weren't men that were up there in society. They were your everyday average individuals. But in the spirit, they're great men. See, carnally to the world, the men of the Lord were never great. But in spirit, they are. And that's what individuals miss. Because you already judge the appearance of a person saying, he's not worth much. Not knowing spiritually, he's worth of a great price. But what went ye out for to see? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, and more than a prophet. Right? Because as Yahushua said, what? Out of all the prophets, there was none like John the Baptist. But you read about John the Baptist, he was in the wilderness. He had on a leathern garment, and his meat was locusts and honey. But yet, he was the greatest of all the prophets. But you see that, it's like, yo, this man, he looking like a wild man. He out here eating locusts and honey. And that's a man of God? Yeah. Because not in the appearance, but in the spirit. And that's what people miss every single time. Because you judge because it's not according to the world. It's not according to the popularity of the world. They don't look like this. But yet our people don't realize, and I apologize for making this a little bit longer than it needs to, but our people don't realize that a lot of the individuals that you follow, whether it be in the religious section of the so-called African community, whether it be of the music part, you all follow individuals that are all literally the same. All these individuals literally do is lie to you up there when it comes to the religious sector. When it comes to music, all these individuals do is give you the same type of music. It's just a different face with a different name, and that's all. And you could liken that to every single aspect. They give you the same thing over and over and over. None of these individuals are exceptional. None of these individuals are any different, any special, anything like that. They're all the same normal people. They just have money. That's it. That's really why you look at them, because of the money, the fame, the popularity. You take that away, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between Chris Brown and another individual. There's probably a Chris Brown that's out there that's a normal individual, but because he doesn't have the money, the fame, the popularity, nobody pays him any mind. But he could probably be more talented than Chris Brown. But because he doesn't have those things, what? He doesn't get that recognition. Because they have to the world, look the part, not realizing what really drives a man on the inside. His hard work, his dedication, his work ethic, That's the things that you miss that really make an individual. Yes, an individual could be tall, he could be strong, all these different type of things, but if he doesn't have drive, if he doesn't have will, if he doesn't have work ethic, why am I struggling to say that word? Work ethic. All those muscles, that size, that height doesn't mean not a single thing. It's not. 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 4. And my speech and my preaching was not with enticing words of man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power. Right. Because according to the world, people are captivated by, just using Joel Osteen for an example, Philip Anthony Mitchell, You're captivated by these individuals because of their enticing words, because they sound good, not realizing that these individuals don't have an understanding of the scriptures. And it's going to be manifest and be shown. But because you were enticed by the smooth words, as our people like, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's Isaiah, prophesy not unto us right things, but prophesy unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. That's what our people like, the smooth things, the lie. And that's why they listen to these individuals. They like listening to that smooth, soothing lie that'll just put them to sleep. But when it's time to wake up, it's like, oh snap, I gotta wake up now? Yeah. And wake up time is coming soon. Jacob's trouble. But what? What the Lord has given us is what? To demonstrate the spirit and the power of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, to bring you this wisdom, knowledge, understanding, as written of in Jeremiah 3:15. I will give you pastors and preachers according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. Not a feel-good story, but something that actually edifies you, that builds you up, that builds your character, that makes you better. Not puts you to sleep, but wakes you up, makes you alive, quickens the spirit, not dulls the spirit. Last precept. Hopefully it's still here. Okay, yes. This is Sirach, if I'm not mistaken, 13. Give it 1 second because I may have something pop up. Okay. Sirach, chapter 13 and verse 23. When a rich person speaks, everyone is silent, and they praise him to the skies for what he says. But let a poor person speak, and everybody says, who is that? They push him down if he so much as stumbles. See? That's the issue with people today. They look at the rich person because of his popularity, his riches, so they think in their minds, this guy must have something important to say. But riches does not mean that you're intelligent. Riches does not mean that you have any type of wisdom at all. You could have a person who is wise and be rich. You could have a person who is foolish and be rich. It doesn't, the riches don't make you wise. The riches don't mean that you know stuff. That's all. You just may have had a talent to do something, and that's it. Just like for our people, you just have a talent to sing, jump, and dance. That's it. But it doesn't mean that what you actually have any wisdom. And yeah, you may have some wisdom, because, you know, a clock is right. A broken clock is right 2 times out of the day. But you want to be right all the day, not just twice. Sorry, something in my eye. Right? So people will look at the rich individual as, oh, he must have something to say. He must have it all. But no, he doesn't. That's what people are getting ready to realize with these people that they have been captivated by, whether it be in the religious sector of the African community, African American community, or, you know, the music, people who are come out of the music industry, you know, your Jay-Z, Beyonce, Rihanna, so on and so forth, Sexy Red, Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion. You're going to realize that when Jacob's trouble hits, all hell breaks loose. They're not going to have an answer or know what to do themselves. They're going to be in the same predicaments as you. So all that money shows you that it doesn't mean anything. That talent didn't mean anything at all. The force, the driving force, what is driving that individual? What is driving us to continue to keep going against all odds, against everything essentially being stacked against us? Esau, he's at the pinnacle of his power. He's about to come after us. He's getting ready his so-called New World Order. He has his robots. He's getting ready. What is still anybody that's seeing all this would sit there and say, yo, you ain't got a shot. Sit down. Yo, just get out the way. You're going to get ran over. But what is driving us to keep us going? What is pushing us to keep going? Despite all these odds, there's a spirit, there's a force that comes from the Heavenly Father to keep us going. And that's what you're not seeing. And that's what you're missing. Some of these so-called great men that you look at in society, they're not going to step up when the time comes. Yeah, they may be speaking well and all this type of stuff, all these type of individuals, whoever you may watch, so on and so forth. When the time comes when, speaking really to these men, hey, oh, you know, I'll add the women in there too. When the time comes, you're going to see these people cower. They're not going to be there at all. But Lord's willing, we be those men. Lord's willing, the Lord keeps the spirit on us. You're going to see the true men of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshai step up. And you're going to see them stand against Esau, just like how it is now, but with power, actual power, spiritual power. Stand against Esau and his BS. Say no to the microchip. Even with all hell coming against them, still going to stand up there and spiritually fight. While these men that you looked at in society, oh, these must be great men, they're going to cower and break and yield to Esau. While the true men of the Lord that were looked at as nothing, that were looked at as insignificant, they're going to stand tall in the face of danger. They're going to show themselves to be the true men and the true leaders of Israel. So, I'll end it there. Pray and hope this video has been edifying. And ending, one, give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the apostle elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to all for elect. Shalom.